So now, the day before yesterday, we had Pranab Mukherjee, the President of India, who extended invitation for Iftar party. And most of the people, they had complained, and the grievance was there that the BJP ministers, the current central cabinet ministers, none of them turned up, including the Prime Minister, even though everybody was there in Delhi on that particular day. So what do you think should be done in such cases?
Well, I think the point you raise is fundamental to the role of government and what is the role of a president and what's the role of, and I think as a party what we believe in is that there is simply no role of government in any religion. If the president wants to have a party, he should spend his own money. So I think and if he wants to have a Diwali, he should spend his own money on his own Diwali. On the other hand, it is much better and much more worthy of respect if actually the president goes to the poorest Muslim in the whole of Delhi and attends his Iftar party, was the humblest of the Muslims in Delhi. Is the person deserving, if the president is willing and interested in actually respecting the Muslims who are of India, he is better off not by having this show at government expense, which is completely wrong, but by actually going and showing his respect to the poorest of the poor in India, who believe in that religion and are peacefully managing their lives. Similarly, in Diwali, he should go to the poorest person's house and have a proper, feast, which is the Diwali feast. This way, what you are doing, or join people for the Holi. Now, there may be security issues, etc., Z security, etc. But I think at the point I'm making is the securities of the president is the job of the government. So they have to protect him at all times.
That's the
actual job of the government.
Efficiency could be proved there.
Yes, but it is not the job of government to hold a Iftar party. It's not the job of government to hold a Diwali party. It is a job of the government to hold a Republic Day event, an Independence Day event. These are the kind of markers for the whole of the nation, where everybody who believes in the nation comes together. But when we talk about these religious things, why is it that the government has to get involved through taxpayer? Pranab Mukherjee is most welcome to get involved as a person. He should, if he respects, Islam, if he respects Hinduism or whatever, he should go to that particular religious occasion and let the religious believers invite him. This is, I think, the kind of message that we have in this party, that we don't want government to do things that they should not, but we want them to do things that they should. So the money saved from not holding an Iftar party by the president, and he could have gone and just attended somebody else's Iftar party, that money should have gone into funding schools, should have gone to funding roads, should have gone to funding so many other things, justice, and other things that the government does not do. I think this message that we are bringing is a breath of fresh air. I don't think any party in India, and this is the sad tragedy of India, we have not had any leader in India from independence stand up and tell us basic things about what is the purpose of government. Everybody sort of stands up and says, I will do this as a government, and I will do that, and then they do it. They do whatever strikes their whim. Then they're actually acting like the old-fashioned kings. Right. But we are a democracy. We are a parliament. We have got parliament. The money is a sacrosanct. The most sacrosanct thing here is the taxpayers' money. The president has no right to use that money to feed a few people. That feeding he does to the diplomats of other countries or the president is fine, because they are coming as heads of the state. But if he starts feeding a Muslim leader, or another person,
or a community, or a group,
or a small group, and that too, by the way, in a very big feast, and while the poor people of India remain poor, so he has stolen from the taxpayer, and he's feeding a very big feast to a few selected people. Fundamentally, you can see the problem here. This was not democratic. This is not the purpose of government. This is not the purpose of being a president. And we should not be comparing ourselves with kings and queens, like, what does the Queen of England do or whatever. That is a queen. We don't have such a thing in India. We should not be comparing. We should be the most humble, like Sudama. I was talking about Krishna and Sudama, right? What is the value here? The value is be as humble as possible and save the money of the taxpayer, and also respect the poor. So the message I had was, in this case, was that president walk up and go to the poorest people I have been to so many of these poor Muslim families for example, in Jind district, where I had done a village survey. And of course, I've been to other cases. I've been inside their houses. They are desperately poor. Artisans, the ones who make these beautiful little surais and so on. They're desperately poor. Please respect them. Go to the house.
Go and motivate them by
motivate them.
Celebration.
Join their celebration. They will respect you.
Yeah.
The Sudama is the person to be respected. You are taking taxpayers' money by the force of a gun, because government is a force. You are taking the taxes. Then you are saying, I'm going to spend it on feeding a few rich people already well-to-do. And what are you doing this for? Because you think that I'm giving the religion respect. No, you're not respecting the religion. You are disrespecting the people of India. You are taking away the poor man's money and giving it to the rich. This is not the way a government should function. And I think our point about this whole thing is the government, by all means, everybody should be entitled to their views. President can go to any function. He can even have his own iftar function. If he's a Muslim or even if he's a Hindu, by all means, put your own money into this. Personal money into this thing and have an iftar party with your own money. Don't use taxpayer money, please. That's the only thing I was thinking. I think about the BJP's position, because BJP is not saying these things, what I've just said.
Yeah.
Their position is not tenable.
Right, because according to them, it's more of why should we? It's a thing of symbolism, and they don't want to appease a particular community, and they don't want to have this kind of things.
Yes.
And I think on the part of religious, apart from the taxpayers' money being used, it is also an issue about appeasing a certain community by favoring them and trying to gain the brownie points.
Indeed, and I think that's what happened. I remember clearly the pictures of Mr. Modi going in Gujarat to many of these religious events,
right?
Or maybe even organizing. I think the point is that if either you are completely clear that you do this only in your personal capacity, then
you can go as an invitee to a place which is privately organized.
Yes, then you are respect worthy. Right. If you do this out of a kind of a divisive nature, trying to divide the country, then I think we should oppose it. So you can see that I managed to annoy everybody here. I've annoyed the President of India by saying that he did the wrong thing. He took the money from the poor and gave to the rich. So he should not have held the party. I've also annoyed the BJP by saying that they are actually wrong by dividing the country. Now they should, in this case, have simply said what I've said. They need not have gone. But they should have a position, right?
They should have a position instead of giving an excuse that why they didn't go.
Yeah, they should have a position that we do not allow.
The people of India denied the right of knowing why they didn't go.
Yes, we do not accept this kind of approach for anybody, for any religious event.
It's very clear.
Yeah, and that way nobody has any confusion about the position. Currently, it is clear that it appears to be dividing the country. So that was the wrong way to do it. They are doing the right thing in the wrong way.
Yeah.
See, sometimes it is important to know.
Congress is doing the wrong thing in the wrong way.
Yes.
And BJP is doing the right thing in the wrong way.
Maybe like that. So, but in this case, the point I'm making, I think we're making here is that always go back to the step one. What is the role of government in a particular thing?
It's a very classical example.
Anytime you use the taxpayers' money, it is the most sacred obligation for you. Because you have done it by force. You have acquired that money through the power of the gun, which is what the government is. Once you've taken somebody's money by force, you please treat it sacredly.
The obligation is on you, onus is on you to use it very
If you have a religion, please have a religion of respecting other people's money. That should be the religion of the government. That the government, it is not an entitlement for the president to access that money and feed himself and feed others of his selected invitees.
People who are already eating and who are already spending it.
And that is not his birthright. Okay, the President of India is here to protect the Constitution, to defend, to make sure that the government is effective, efficient, does its job well, which he should be doing more of. He should be advising on these lines to the people who are running the country through his joint speech to the address to the Parliament. He should be setting the standards for everybody, role models for everybody. I'm not. Again, I don't want to go back to the great independence leaders of India, fighters or whatever. The people like Gandhi. I don't think Gandhi would have done this kind of things by taking other people's money. I suspect he was very fussy about where the money comes from. You need to be fussy about taxpayers' money. Vishwesvaraya, this greatest. Bangalore, right? The Vishwesvaraya is the great stories about him, about the fact that anytime he had to do something, if it is a government document he's signing, he will take the pen that was paid by the government and then he will sign it and put that pen away. And he's doing in the same place, he's doing his own personal work, like he's writing a document. He will use his personal pen and then he will write. what that and the standards of these people's integrity. So I think integrity is missing in the system when you start contaminating, you start assuming that it is your right to take other people's money for your benefit or for political purposes. So I think this idea also applies more broadly to things like
any expenditure from the government on
religious issues. By all means, provide protection to the Hajj pilgrims. By all means, do that. That's your obligation as a government to do that. Now, when I say that, I must also qualify a little bit here. Yeah. It is not appropriate to use the common taxpayers' money to provide security to a particular group. So, in Victoria, for example, if it's a private purpose event, then like a music show.
Yeah, even the security is paid for.
The security is actually paid for by that organizer. Yeah. So in this case, yes, the government can provide, at low cost, because government provides hopefully low cost service. Then that service can be provided at low cost to the Hajj pilgrims. If there's a broader effect of that on security for a lot of people, like people are going in roads, everybody's affected, then of course you provide common security. Security having been done, maybe you even engage with them what is called coordination activities. If there is some need to help in using diplomatic resources, in Saudi Arabia, that okay, we have got this diplomatic, and I think that already exists. That's a very big part of this job of the government is to actually organize and 40,000 seats or whatever. Yeah. That is fine. That's part of the job of government to facilitate its citizens in another country. Right. Okay, that's also part of the job of the government. It's a diplomatic role. So these security diplomatic roles are legitimate, subject to cost recovery wherever applicable.
The taxpayers' money can
but anything else, I think, goes out of the scope of government.
I think the taxpayer money, as you said, the treasury of the taxpayers' money should be treated in a very, very
sacred
and a sacred manner, and should be monitored and thought about 10 times before using it. Even a penny of that.
Absolutely.
That goes on to include any kind of an act.
Any funding. So think of Vishwesharaya. I think every time we should think.
It's a great example of Vishwesharaya.
How can you use even a drop of ink that belongs to the public man for your private purpose?
Right.
I think the thought behind that is so revolutionary.
Absolutely.
We need to.
It's a great example to follow.
And I think that's what we're trying to bring in this picture. Everything is to be thought through properly. Right. Everything begins by asking a question: is there a role for government in this? And once you've done that thinking, we'll probably come to the right answer.
And there is also another issue coming on appeasement. The government keeps trying to change the names of different airports, based on their people. Who have been in the government or are not in the government. So, isn't it a good idea that the cities should be named after the city themselves without having any kind of this?
I think
Bangalore should be called Bangalore Airport. People were fighting that it should be called
not only that
airport. People should be some said Kempegowda, some said something Basava. So I think it should be just called Bangalore International Airport.
I think on this business of names, the moment you do what we are saying, which is to privatize almost everything that is there, your airports and everything, it is none of the business of government who calls anything what.
Right.
So the owner of the airport can rename it. Like we know in Melbourne there is this huge ground. It was called the Telstra ground at one time because Telstra was sponsoring it for 5 years.
Right.
Once the sponsorship changed, it went to Etihad. It became Etihad ground, and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. That it's a privately owned ground, can be called anything, and so also airport can change.
The rules of all the airports in the country are by the Airports Authority of India and the DGCA, the Director General of Civil Aviation. So the state governments tend to, come into this, interfere in the naming of the airports, which again is a lot of appeasement. Like in Orissa, you call it, Patnaik Airport. Then in Bangalore, you have Kempegowda. Then it was Rajiv Gandhi Airport.
So you can see what is going on here. You see, just like we talked about imposition of politics on what should be otherwise a private decision.
Yes.
So in each case, what is happening is people are trying to extract political mileage from these activities.
Yes.
So by calling it Rajiv Gandhi thing or Indira Gandhi thing or
some... There are some yojanas which were schemes that were there by the previous government, which was the UPA regime. Now the same schemes apparently have been renamed in the current government with the new names of this government. So again, if there's another government coming in again, so there's a lot of confusion here, which also breeds corruption, which also breeds a lot of ignorance on the product as per se. Every
Oh
product,
yes,
every
because
scheme is a product.
everybody get confused. What is it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that SBP should be thinking of is how to streamline these schemes with just one single platform and an identity. So
Look,
it
we
becomes clear
already
for people.
have a thing that there will be no schemes. We will abolish everything starting from public distribution system to every single possible so-called scheme.
Right.
Because the government has no business to be doing these schemes. We have a very single one-point program. If you are poor, you will be covered by the social insurance program.
So that should be one scheme.
Just one single activity that will say you are really poor. We have found you are very poor. You need this kind of topping up of income, or some support for your children's education or for your health care. And once you're done, that goes as a social insurance scheme. The USA has got a social insurance program. They don't have. It's not called by any president's name. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is the function that names the thing.
Function names, and it's a property of the government and the country's people
Yes,
who own that scheme.
yes. Reserve Bank of India, the Federal Reserve Bank is not called Washington Bank, and then tomorrow it's not called Obama Bank.
Obama Bank, yeah.
It is just a bank.
Like you had some Indira Awas Yojana.
Yes.
Now it has become Atal Yojana.
Yes.
Then again it goes back
This
to
whole
Yojana.
this
So Yojana, so many
what you're
Yojanas,
seeing here is
misleading.
these little our parties are basically political parties are.
So the people are under an impression, the ignorant masses of the country think that governments belong to the political parties. So that's the kind of exercise that is being done, and why nobody has taken any step in trying to stop this particular. The naming itself, the identification of schemes.
You see,
leaders.
Asif, this whole problem is such a big mess. Everything in India has to change.
Yes, this is very.
So this is a very good example of that bad policy. So we will definitely not be doing any of this. Let us say that we will be incrementally cutting down, merging, collapsing them into one scheme, as we said, removing all the unnecessary, but not immediately. The first thing we say is we don't rush in and stop it immediately.
And also the fact that they tried to change the name of the cities. Say, for example, Bangalore has been changed to Bengaluru, Bombay has been changed to Mumbai. But however, still the international airline websites, they tend to identify Mumbai as Bombay, Calcutta, Kolkata as Calcutta, Chennai as Madras.
Yeah.
You see, so
this is like the Beijing, Peking thing. I think on the cities again, we should be delegating the decision to the city councils,
right,
to the extent possible, so that local government system should be strengthened.
Right. Now the Gateway of India, they have planned to change the name to Bharat Dwar. The Maharashtra government is wanting to change it to Bharat Dwar, trying to impose the language.
I think these people are so busy in doing this ridiculous.
Is it to divert the attention of the people from the real issues?
No, they don't know what to do, so they do the thing that they should not do. They think that by doing this thing, they will get 4 or 5 extra votes. And I think the people of India have seen through this mess and seen through this.
Because Gateway of India was just Gateway of India, and it was just a tourist spot, and suddenly it becomes an issue of discussion that they wanted to call it Bharat Dwar.
Yes. See, this is where I think because our politics is operating at such a low level in India,
wasting our time, valuable time of the country's.
And remember, each of them requires a renaming of so many maps and everything.
Exactly,
and
everything.
It is fundamentally pointless to be doing these things when you can't provide basic justice, basic police security, basic services as a government. So anytime a government does this, we should. So we have a policy in SBP which says the government should do its first order functions first.
Right.
First order functions are justice, security, that is law and order, etc., and basic infrastructure, and of course defense. Once it has done these things, then it should do the second order functions, which includes looking after people's, like the social insurance program and the equal opportunity and so on, education. That's the second order. But the second order function should only be performed after your first order function has been performed well. So
it's a root first.
You first finish
foundation.
First finish your first job.
Yeah, I agree.
If you don't do your first job and you're doing the fourth job,
no, it is not.
That's wrong.
Because the fourth job stands on the first job.
Yeah. And if you finish your the first job, you will need less money for the second job.
Right.
Because people will automatically become rich anyway. Once you do your first level job, justice, security, and so on, they'll automatically, and you let them be free, they will grow rapidly, automatically.
The moment people are free and freedom is in their minds, then they have a lot of ways to explore and
exactly.
think.
So then your second order function, which is of education, poor, looking after the poor, that is finished because it's almost done. Then if there's still little function, you do it.
I think that is a real freedom that India will get by doing all this.
Yeah, and so we want to stop this mindlessness. And I think that what has happened is, Asif, as you can see, we have had this sad situation that there have not been anybody at the top We have had illiterates running the country. You know, people like Indira Gandhi were practically illiterate. We have people like who are ignorant. People like Rahul Gandhi did not. Rajiv Gandhi did not know anything. He did not read anything practically.
He just came suddenly by
he
force,
suddenly comes into
and
power.
Emotions and sentiments made them leaders.
And then we have I will not name now, but you can see what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the point that at the top there has never been